Hello and welcome to an interview conducted July 2010. This is part 1 and we'll just begin. What is your name, and if you would tell us about your childhood?
I certainly will. My name is Russell E. Magowan. I was born on July 21st, 1918 in St. Francis Hospital on Hamilton Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey. My mother, she was of German descent, and her name was Kathryn Eureles, E-U-R-E-L-E-S. And my dad, he was Scotch-Irish, and his name was Thompson Magowan. I had three siblings. My sister, Marion Schwartz, and Walter Schwartz is her son. And then I had a brother. His name was William Magowan, and he became paralyzed in the legs and he couldn't work. He had to have crutches the rest of his life. And the other brother was Thompson Magowan. And when I was 4 years old, my mother passed away. And and my brother Tom was 2, and my sister was 7, and my brother Bill, I believe, was about 5. From there, they put me on a farm, a 7-acre farm. The family's name was Risden, and they boarded children. There were about 6 children there on this little farm. It was only a 7-acre farm, and it was 20 miles from Trenton, and they took me out there and left me. And I was pretty scared on the way out because I didn't know what was happening. But anyway, to make a long story short, that's where I ended up, in Salisbury, Pennsylvania. And I went to school there, and the school was a one-room schoolhouse with grades 1 through 8, and each row in the school was a grade. First grade was the first row, second grade was the second row, and so on. And I went through all 8 rows and 8 grades in that school until I was 14. And when I was 14, my father passed away. I didn't see much of him during the time I was at the Risden place. He only came to visit me 3 or 4 times, and in reality, I didn't know him very well either. I didn't know my mother at all. I don't remember her at all, but my father, I just barely knew. And when I was 14, I went to live with my grandmother and my aunt in Trenton, New Jersey. And my grandmother, she didn't particularly like children, and I don't think she was too enthused the fact that I had come there. But she treated me civilly, and my aunt found me a job. And the job that she found me was with a printing company, and I rode a bicycle, taking briefs, copies of the printing from offices in the city and from the state legislature. The State House was in Trenton, being it was the capital of New Jersey, and this company printed all the things that the state needed, including passes and Senate bills and Assembly bills. And we would go and sit in the Assembly room, and when they introduced a bill, I would take one on the bicycle, a copy, race it back to the printer, and they'd put it on the presses. So I worked there for, probably until I was 17 years old. And then I went in the U.S. Navy. And the reason I went in the Navy was because I was an orphan, and I didn't have anyone, and so my aunt, she called her congressman, or actually wrote him, and told him I was an orphan, and he interceded. There was a big long waiting list to get into the Navy at that time. In fact, it was 6 months long, but I was called right away. And when I went down, I was inducted into the Navy. I went to Brooklyn, New York, and through another physical checkup and evaluation, and then they sent me to Newport, Rhode Island for training, and I went through the training there for 3 months. And what else you want to know, Doug?
When you went in the Navy, you had an issue with your teeth.
Yes. When I went through the Brooklyn, and the doctors looked at me, one of the doctors said, "I can't believe it, this man doesn't have one cavity." I had perfect teeth. And I was pretty proud of that. But when I got to the Newport train station, you had to go to the dentist and be checked. And he checked me, and he started telling the yeoman who wrote down on the paper what was to be done. And he kept saying I needed this and that. And I went back about a week later, and he started drilling my teeth. And he drilled all the teeth out in the back, put fillings in them. But when he drilled them, he didn't give me any Novocaine, and I'd pass out in the chair. And when I came to, my head would be down around my knees, and wet towels on the back of my neck. And then when I came to, he'd sit back up in the chair, and the dentist would say, "Where are you born?" And I'd say, "I was born in Trenton, New Jersey, sir." And he'd start drilling again. Then I'd pass out again. And then he'd do the same thing. "Oh, I'm tired of this man. Schedule him to come back next Thursday." And so that's what the yeoman would do. He was a sadist, that dentist, or else he got a kick out of torturing me. I don't know what it was. But anyway, from then on I was wary of dentists, and I didn't ever want to go to one. And now I don't have very many teeth left, and primarily due to his messing with them.
And would you tell us, what would a typical day be like going through recruit training?
Oh, in boot training, we stood watches at night, and it was cold. I was up there in November, and when we stood at attention and when we were on maneuvers, out, we'd be at attention. My men's ears would freeze standing there. But then at night, we were on watch, and you'd be alone with a rifle, standing guard duty for 4 hours, and no one around, and the wind blowing, and it was really cold. I didn't enjoy that too much, but I was kind of lucky. When I went ashore, I did meet a young lady, and she was a mulatta, and she used to meet me at the gate when I came out, and all the other guys, they couldn't find a girl because the people in town, they wouldn't allow them to go with the sailors. They kept their daughters inside. But this particular girl, I was real lucky, and so I had a girl, and I was kind of proud of that. Well, from the training station, after I got out of there, they sent me back to the West Coast, and I went on the USS Shawmount, which was an old troop carrier, and we went down through Cape Hatteras, and we ran into a hurricane, and it swept all the lifeboats off the ship. Everybody stayed below with the hatches closed, so they'd been swept overboard by the heavy seas. And the ship actually did 3 knots heading into the storm just for 3 days. And everybody was sick, and there were 3 bunks, one above the other, down in the hold, and these men were heaving, they'd heave down on you. But I was real lucky. I managed not to get sick. I don't know how I did it, but I didn't get sick anyway. And eventually we took off, and we went through the canal. It was very hot. It was 110. And from there we went up along the Mexican coast and saw fire at night. It was a volcano. And on into the breakwater, the entrance to the breakwater in San Pedro, to the Oregon. And I was stationed on the USS Oregon, which was a flagship for an admiral, a base force admiral. And they had quite a few radiomen on there, and that's what I always wanted to be, was a radio operator. But I tried when I was in the training station, and they didn't give it to me. So as a consequence, when I got on the Aragon, I had to swab decks and scrub bulkheads and work, and I hated it. So I kept on the chief radioman, one of the chief radiomen, and trying to get him to let me be a radio striker in a radio gang. But he said, "Well, you don't know the code. You can't be." So I got a code practice oscillator on my own ashore and brought it aboard ship, went up high and started practicing the code on my own. It took me about 6 months, and I finally got up to 15 words a minute where I could send and receive. And I demonstrated that to the chief, and he allowed me to enter the radio gang.